Hey everyone, the name is Kris Barocsi and welcome to Gear Corner. Today we're talking about this beautiful dual reverb. This is the Mirage by Crazy Tube Circuits. It's unique in a number of ways. First of all, it's not one reverb, it's literally two reverbs. That's already really cool about it. You don't see a lot of those actual dual reverbs out there, especially if you consider the size of this, actually the price as well, and also the simplicity of how you use it. No crazy hidden dual features of knobs that you really have to learn. It's a couple of knobs, a couple of little buttons, and 2 foot switches, and a really clever creative patching set of options. Really a lot of ways of using the pedal, which is really cool. I'll talk about it in a second, but first there are a lot of reverb sounds or reverb engines inside a pedal. You'll have 8 times 2, so 16 different reverb sounds that you can select with the voice switch. You'll have 8 realistic, sort of traditional reverb types, places and spaces that do actually exist, and then you have 8 more experimental, more modern sounds with all kinds of shimmers and crazy looping and infinite sounds, whatever. There's one thing I wanted to mention before you hear the 8 traditional reverb sounds, and that is one of the engines, one of the reverb types is called Inchindown, which is an oil storage facility, underground oil storage in Scotland, which creates the longest reverb in a man-made facility. It sounds so lush, and the pre-delay alone is just the nicest. You'll hear it when we get there. It's awesome. All right, let's talk about the knobs real quick. It's really simple, so we don't have to spend a lot of time with that. It's very easy to understand everything. You'll find the same knobs on both sides. This is, I don't know, let's call this R1 and let's call this R2 for reverb 1, reverb 2. You'll find volume and mix in the upper row, and then swell and excite in the lower row. Volume and mix doesn't need any explanation. Swell is going to be the length of your reverb, in most cases, for most engines. And then the excite is usually going to be presence or tone, or if it's a pitch reverb, which there is one in the more experimental modern row of reverb voices, you can change the pitch with that. So it's really, really cool. And this little button allows you, which is called the shift, this allows you to choose one of the rows, because you'll have 8 notches on this voice switch, and with this you can choose if it's the traditional 8 sounds that you select or the modern ones, depending on this being pushed in or out. And there's another little switch here which is called assign, and this will allow you to assign this or this knob, so the swell or the excite knob, to the expression pedal that you connect to this one, the R2. You can connect it right here with this jack, TRS cable into an expression pedal, and then with that expression pedal you can tweak this one or this one, so the swell or the excite. On this side, on the R1 side, you can assign the swell or the excite to this switch, this foot switch, which you can change the function of. You can have this as a bypass for this side and a bypass for this side, so R1 on off, R2 on off, or if you change the function of this foot switch with this little button, then this will become your expression button. And then you can assign, of course, if you want to ramp up the swell or ramp up the excite. It's all very simple. Let's move on and hear the other 8 reverbs, the modern or more experimental reverbs, and then I'll explain the patching options, which is a thing of its own. It's amazing. All right, let's check out the routing options. You'll see 4 jacks here. So both sides, both reverb sides have an input and output, input and output. You can use them that way. You can also use it like a master in, master out, and have an effects loop in the middle, depending on how it's patched, how it's routed. Now the first option is, well, we're guitar players and most of us play mono rigs, so that is what you can do here. Of course, you have master in, so your input, your output, and the 2 reverbs are gonna be in series. So one goes into the other. You can just use one if that's all you need. You can also stack them and have 2 different reverbs going into each other, which is, again, a very creative and super spacey way of using a reverb. You can also use the pedal in stereo. So you come in with your stereo, left and right, and come out with output left and right. That is, of course, a beautiful way of using the pedal. You can leave both reverb sides of the stereo image the same. So let's say you want to have a whole reverb on both sides. So you twist the knobs to have the same settings and then use it as in a very subtle stereo way. Or you can, of course, change, use the same engine so that it's not very off balance, your stereo image, but use different swells. And of course, you can go crazy with it and have, I don't know, my favorite setting is, for example, having the modern modulated reverb on one side and the Inchindown, that super long oil tank reverb on the other side. If you're using headphones now, have fun with this one. Another way of using both inputs and outputs is using these 2 reverbs as 2 separate pedals, right? It is literally completely sort of independent. So you can, I don't know, use your electric guitar rig, use one of the reverbs, input, output, and then you play a couple of songs on an acoustic and you want to have some reverb happening for that. Well, then use the other side of the pedal and go in and out with your acoustic guitar, completely separate from your electric guitar rig, and use that side for that guitar, for the acoustic guitar. The third way of connecting it is mono to stereo. So you go in with your normal mono rig and then split the signal here and then go into 2 different amps or 2 different amp simulations, whatever you use. And that is just the guitarist way of using it. This doesn't have to be on a pedal board. Despite its size and shape, it can be a studio tool. It's made to do that, to work with line signal. It can be used as an insert effect in like a mixing desk or whatever, in like a recording rig. And if you turn around the pedal, first of all, you see that it's absolutely cranked. It's a stacked circuit board, so it's 2 circuit boards on top of each other. There's not a lot of free space inside there, which is understandable considering the amount of features and sounds. And there are some dip switches inside. You can kill the dry per side if you wish to do that. You can decide on buffer bypass or true bypass. per side. And here's a dip switch that allows you to go to stereo or series, so both ins and outs are active, or mono into stereo, mono in, stereo out. Let's move on to like my thoughts on the pedal. An obvious question would be like, do we need another reverb pedal, right? And don't worry, the guys at Crazy Tube Circuits are aware of this question. They only made the pedal because they felt like there's barely an alternative to what this offers. First of all, the size and the price is a statement. Then you think about all the routing options, all the ways you can use this pedal, all the features and sound quality that you get on the pedal. Then the simplicity of using the pedal, no screens, no menus, whatever, everything adjustable on the fly, and you see all the knobs and settings. And then another important thing that they wanted to make sure is to keep the sound quality as analog as possible. Now I'm doing the weird, quote unquote thing, because it is a digital pedal in terms of reverb sounds. Like the reverbs are digital, but the dry signal is fully analog. You don't see that very often in reverbs. You can actually boost your signal. You can use this pedal as a solo booster, which is a really cool thing, because if your guitar stays analog, you literally just boost the signal and put a little sweet reverb love under it. Which is, again, they thought of those people who care about the best possible sound and not just the longest possible set of features or, multi-effect style attitude. This is why they also say, put this in your studio and use it as an outboard gear. It's not very often the case that I have a pedal in my hands and I can immediately find or think of a number of very different players who would benefit from it. Because it's usually like, if it's a high-end, whatever, let's stick to reverbs because this is a reverb. It's a high-end reverb and it does a lot of things. Then I can think of those people who want a very good sounding reverb unit that will give them, MIDI and presets and tons of those things. Then there's another kind of reverb that is, again, very good sounding and high-end, but offers a lot less, intentionally, just to keep it much more analog, like make you feel like you are using an analog piece of gear and get the analog sound, but much more convenient, modern, reliable in a digital shape. And that's, again, for all certain kind of player. Now here, because of the patching options, I can think of, the top 40 musician, the working musician who plays in clubs or pubs or events, bigger halls, and needs, different reverbs, but doesn't like presets, doesn't want to use, screens and stuff. Another kind of player who would go for a stereo reverb and wants to have different reverbs on both sides. In most cases, you need to buy two different pedals in order to have that and then run that in a stereo fashion. Now with this, you have both of those separate reverb pedals built in. Then if you just want to split your signal, it gives you a lot of freedom without any of the confusion of complex rigs. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the Mirage. If you have any questions, of course, hit me up. And yeah, hope you enjoyed these sounds I got in the video with this pedal. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.